19, verse 27, but really the focus is going to be Matthew 20, is verse 1 through 16. So Matthew 19, 27. Then Peter said in reply, "See, we have left everything and followed you. What then will we have?" Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, in the new world, when the Son of Man will sit on his glorious throne, you who have followed me will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or lands for my name's sake will receive 100-fold and will inherit eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last be first. For the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go in the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went. Going out again about the 6th hour, and the 9th hour he did the same. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing. And he said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the laborers, and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first." And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now when those hired first came, they thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you have made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give to this last worker as I give to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last." Okay. So Matthew really is just continuing the thought of what Peter had been asking earlier about the giving up all of what we've given it all up, and we're going to get this reward, and what will our reward be, and that kind of stuff, and all talking about eternal life. I mean, that's what this whole conversation has been about. So Jesus transitions into this, what do you call it, an analogy, a story, however you want to call this, when he says, "For the kingdom of heaven is like," and then he goes on into what it's like. So he's trying to describe it into our terms, some aspect of the kingdom of heaven, and this rewards system. So there is a rewards, right? I mean, that kind of implies there's a rewards. What are these rewards that he's kind of implying to here? To me, there's really ultimately just one reward.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. There is one. I think the reward he's talking about here is eternal life.
Yeah, the entering in, right?
Right. That's the reward. That's the denarius.
Right.
Right. That he's describing.
Right. But there are other kinds of rewards, right? I mean, we kind of implied the jewels and the crown. I think this way.
There are. I don't think that's the point.
Yeah. I don't either. I don't think you can crisscross.
But you're right. There's definitely scriptural support for there being rewards for
Yes.
you being a faithful servant while you're here on this earth.
Right.
God's given each person a certain thing to do, and as you follow those things as rewards for serving Him.
So I guess when it's going to come down to is this about what's the word I'm looking for? Competition for rewards? Is there?
Well, I think that's what God's saying is you have a certain system here on earth that you follow, but we need to change our thinking, because heaven's going to be different than you're thinking it is here. Here it's like self. How do I get ahead? How in the Roman time, success was maybe being how would you say it? When you
Stronger,
stronger,
more
ruler,
dominant,
or master, or something another. That
You know, when people look at rewards, they kind of think of it as a fixed pie, if you will. There's 8 slices of the pie, so therefore, if you get a slice, that means I don't get a slice. You know, it's if you get it, I don't get it. So
Right.
there's kind of that's that human
Where
thing.
there's a limit.
There is a limit here,
Yeah.
and I think some of the emphasis is there is no limit to what God is giving. Here, this reward is not limited to how long you've participated or how short you've participated.
And the degree of the reward
Or the
is
degree.
not limited to how long you've participated, whether you come in at the end of your natural life or whether you've lived your whole life according to,
Right.
you know.
The coming in at the end of your natural life, you could be every bit as much in heaven
Yes.
with Christ for eternity,
yeah.
but you might, at the other rewards we're talking about,
Yes.
the Bema Seat type awards, you might be empty-handed.
Right.
You spent your life not doing things of the Lord, so you will be empty-handed.
Right.
But
I agree with
still,
that, yes.
But the bigger, more important thing is you are there.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree with
Yeah, I
that.
would agree that, you know, and it kind of implies with these laborers, and I guess, you know, a little bit of background here real quick is that, you know, here's this master who is going out to go get a group of guys to work. We have that today. I mean, there are places all over where people hang out in order to be day laborers, you know, just to get hired out to
Right.
go do something.
Yes.
And the story here is that the guys that were there early in the morning, you know, at 6 in the morning, the start of the day, because remember the Jewish calendar or clock starts at 6 in the morning. I should try to use that on my boss, see how that works. But anyways, I digress. You know, said, hey, I'll pay you a denarius, which is a daily wage. And then he comes back a couple hours later.
That'd be
says,
3 hours,
you know, get someone else. But you notice he doesn't say from the second group and onward, I'll pay you a denarius, but I'll just pay you what's fair
Right.
on it. So there was
Yeah.
thing. You know, sometimes I think people look at heaven in a contract kind of thing. I do this, you give me this. You know, and it becomes transactional, right? And it's because I did something. I am the great one who did it. Therefore, I deserve it because it was transactional, right? That's the same as following the law, right?
Right.
And that's what I meant by this is very similar to
Right.
people who follow the law. Is they think that if you follow the law, this is what you get, you know. But in reality, it's the grace of the master
Yes.
that is
Right.
doing that is really all about. It is not about how many you get, how much you get, but the fact that the master gave us this, right?
Yeah, they were just after those first ones. The others were just going by the goodness of the guy. That's because no amount was mentioned. They were just glad to get to work,
Right.
and figured he'd be fair with them, but they didn't know what they were going to get. And so the grace of the guy was better than if it would have been a transaction type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's wrong that the guy that showed up to just work the 1 hour got the full day's wage?
Yeah.
Do you think that's wrong?
Well, I think that's the point. The point is here that what Jesus is describing of the first guys that get hired is the way that the Jewish people or the Jews live their life, right? They live their life according to being strictly, this is what the law says, and this is what you do, right? It was always, and you had to live by every one of those, every bit of the law, right? The 631 laws and the commandments and everything else, they had to obey those things. So it was and that's what justified you. And I think that's what Jesus is saying here is that, what you just said, that salvation is not based on your do's and your don'ts. Salvation is based on the grace of the Master.
Right.
Grace and
Right?
Right.
It you know, that's completely what it's all about. It's about what, you know, what God has decided,
Yeah.
you know, and not what man has decided. Once again, this is that transition, right? Because when he was dealing with the Jews, that was the way that you got in. Was a very, almost a that transactional type of thing.
Acts of
You,
righteousness.
you obey me here and you'll be cool.
Right.
You obey the law and me and you will be all right. Our relationship will be good. You don't obey the law, but what he's saying here, this is that transaction. Now it's all about his grace, right?
Right.
That the one who doesn't even, who comes in at the last hour is going to still get the same thing, right? So we're transitioning from the law into grace, you know, which is what Jesus is doing, what he's, you know, what he's come to do is to stir that whole pot, you know.
And it's showing his sovereignty. The owner can do what he wants,
Yeah.
and God's sovereign.
Yeah, that's an excellent
And
point.
because he's showing grace to the other people. It wasn't that they were lazy. They all were looking for work, just they weren't hired.
Right.
They were willing to work.
Right.
And
And the important thing about, if we think of this from a human point of view, just a secular look at this, is that the reality is the guy that got hired at the 5 o'clock at night, who's only going to work 1 hour, he still had an obligation to feed his family. He still needed a daily wage to survive. It wasn't that that 1 hour would cover what he needed to live and to extend. And it was, I mean, to me, that really clarifies even more so God's grace on it. Realizing, it doesn't say that he realizes it, but I could imagine knowing what those people who are at the 5th hour need this just as much as the people who were hired at 6 a.m. They all need it here. And to me, the story, I don't know all of the story, it just magnifies God's grace in all of this, not how God fulfills a contract,
Yes. Right.
on it. And just his grace abounds.
Yeah.
Just
Saving grace.
Yeah, it's the saving grace, right? And this whole story to me, is about grace and about that last and first. I mean, thank God I'm one of the last ones to get in. Depending on your
Yeah, and we're
look at things.
Gentiles, so we were
Even the last of the last, if I
Yeah.
can call it that. Yeah, absolutely.
an attitude. One of the things I read was saying a person can do a whole lot of stuff, but why was he doing it? His attitude behind it. And he might think he was going to be really, look what I've done. And the other person, how he did it was selflessly or whatever.
Right.
Might be first. And it also says, no matter where you come in at, even though they were years, centuries ago,
Right.
a person today could have that position because of how they live their life for the Lord. They don't have an advantage over you, in a sense.
Yeah. That's right.
So, entering heaven is really God's grace. That's how we enter heaven,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, none of us deserved it. Yeah, it's His grace.
Do you think his reference in the beginning for the kingdom of heaven is like a landowner who went out early in the morning, hired laborers, and agreed with the laborers for a denarius? I'm just throwing it out. Could that be reference to the disciples, the original disciples? Or is
I
that
thought you were
just
heading towards something else.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, that they were the first, right? I mean, the question goes back to their statement that said, "Hey, We've left everything.
Yeah.
This is Peter, right?
This is Peter, right? We've left everything. What's in this for us?
Right.
Right?
And he's saying, Peter, look, buddy.
Hey, look,
Look, buddy.
I told you were in the beginning, so I told you,
Hey.
you were the first ones that I'm gonna tell, this is your reward,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm gonna send you out, and everyone else that comes in, guess what? Even though you were the first, the reward's gonna be the same.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
Just,
And I
just
think
a
it's,
thought.
it's an excellent thought. Basically,
Yeah,
you're
it
saying,
is.
Peter, your rewards are gonna be the same, whether
Yeah.
you're the first that gave everything or the last.
Yeah, he had just answered Peter's question
Right.
about, and everyone who has left his house, brothers, etc., will receive, will inherit eternal life.
Right.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And, the first will be last. And then he maybe makes this new lesson to point out that it's all gonna be the same.
Do you think Jesus lost an opportunity here to create a whole new hierarchy of faith in this? You know, you're going to be first, so therefore you're like the first pope. You know, I'm going to set you up this way, and then everybody else is going to be below you, Peter.
Or like, wasn't it James and John? with the
Yeah.
two that wanted to have
Special position, left and right, or,
Yeah.
you know, that kind of stuff. I say did Jesus miss an opportunity? It was tongue in cheek, is what I mean by that. Is that a lot of us humans would do that.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect opportunity. The ones that come in first, let's put them in special positions and let's
And
organize
then
it.
the other disciples heard about them wanting a position, it made them mad.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that little,
Yeah.
what about me?
Exactly.
I wanna be in part.
I want to be part
Yeah,
of that.
exactly.
Hey, wait a minute.
Pick me. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's one of these, oh gosh, yes. I am so glad that it's set this way. Because, I mean, most of us would be out,
Right.
you know, if we weren't the first ones to get the special insight.
I mean, the other interesting thing too is that the fact that those that were hired at the 11th hour were the first ones to get paid.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that would make me mad if I was one of the first ones. Not only are you paying him the same thing as me, but you're making me wait until the end
To get paid.
To get paid.
right.
Yeah, I could see me in that group.
Yeah.
Complaining, or at least complaining quietly to
Yeah.
myself that, hey, this
Exactly
is
right. This ain't right. This ain't fair.
So is that kind of what we do as Christians, is that we kind of look down on the young believers? Because we've exercised our righteousness over all these years. We know better. We've done all the following of the rules and stuff. Do we kind of make our righteousness, our righteous acts, what do I want to say? Our standard?
Yeah, I think we do. I think a lot of it has to do with our traditions.
Yeah.
I think we can just like the Jews did with the law, where they clarified what God said by
Adding
creating all of these and adding,
addendums, right? Yeah.
right, adding to what the law said. I think we do that through our traditions. I think we can impose rules and regulations on people that are traditions that make it put an onus on people to obey so, or you're not, you're
Right.
not religious, or
Right.
you're not, you're not, I'll give you an example. And I think it cuts across generational lines. When I grew up, when you went to church, you put on your Sunday best, right?
Yeah, that was,
And it was a big deal,
sure.
right? Because that was showing, and I've heard this statement made, that shows reverence to God.
Right.
Right? Nowadays, I mean, you've got people that come to church in shorts and flip-flops and everything, right?
Whatever.
Does God really care? Or do we really care?
Yeah.
You know? what's the tradition? Do we look down or even say something to a young person that says, really, man, you should probably wear some, nicer stuff, huh?
Wear some shoes.
Wear some shoes, right, exactly. But we do that,
We
right?
do, we do.
We do that because of just simply our tradition,
Yeah. That's a good point.
And I think, we, so in that way, we can, we show a limit on God's grace, just.
We certainly don't reflect God's focus.
Oh, right.
If we're overtly focused on them wearing flip-flops or not.
Yeah, I'm not wild about it at all.
I'm not at
But
all.
I
I admit it.
But I'm with you, you gotta just say that's not important.
Yeah.
Right.
They had a specific guy chosen to come give his testimony at Caleb's church Sunday, and this is on average a lot younger set.
Mhm.
And so I observed, he was dressed like he came from the pool,
Right, yep,
flip flops and like you talking about.
Yeah.
And up there in the audience in front of 1,000 people, but hey,
right.
it's
Well,
just not that important.
I'll tell you, at First Baptist Covington, I would say at least 25% of the people that come on Sunday morning, right, are gonna be wearing shorts or, or
It's just-
whatever.
it's just
I think it's a generational, traditional thing, but then again, once again, I've heard people say that's dishonoring God. And I'm like, how can you say that?
Yeah.
I don't know, show me that in here.
Show me his,
You gotta just let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like it.
No, I'm with you. I know,
But,
it kind of, I would never wear shorts.
Well, I
You know?
lament, that it has been let go,
Yes,
even for, other things, just in general, being professional or being,
Yes.
reverent, either one.
right.
but for me, I had to consciously let it go.
Yes, yeah,
I have to acknowledge that, I'm harping on this, or I'm noticing this.
Yeah, just
And
let
it
it
makes
go.
no difference, Howard. Move on.
that's right.
Yeah, just
It
let it
makes
go.
no
Yeah.
difference.
Right.
Makes no difference.
Let it go.
All right. We'll stop here. All right.
Okay.
What are you guys praying for?